Hello everyone, and my name is Mohammed Junaid. Today I'm going to tell you sexual reproduction in flowering plants. First of all, I'm going to tell you what sexual reproduction in plants mean. Reproduction in plants takes place sexually and asexually as well, but the majority of the flowering plants reproduce sexually. The flower is the reproductive part of a plant, that is, both male and female gametes are produced by flowers. It's awesome. Sexual reproduction in plants takes place in flowers. The complete flower typically consists of 4 parts and they are very important. And without these, sexual reproduction does not happen. Petals, the beautiful part of the flowers. Sepals, that protect the flower from blooming when it's small. Stamen is the male reproductive part of the flower, and pistil, or you can say carpel, is the female part of the flower. So before starting, we have to learn the parts of the flower. So these are the parts of the flower. First of all, I'm going to tell you what the stamen, which is the male reproductive part of the flower, which consists of anther and filament. The anther is a stack-like structure that produces and stores the pollen. On it, the pollen starts, and this is the first part of sexual reproduction in plants. It starts with the male. Now comes the filament that supports the anther. It's like a long tube that holds the anther so that it doesn't fall. Your question might be coming in your mind. What does the pistil mean? Or you can say carpel. It is the female reproductive part which consists of stigma, style, and ovary. Let me tell you what they are. Stigma is the topmost part of the flower. It is very sticky so that it can catch the pollens when the bee takes it from the anther to the stigma. Then the style is the long tube which connects with the stigma to the ovary. This helps in traveling the pollen from the stigma to the ovary, and it also helps stand the stigma. Now comes the ovary, and it contains a lot of ovules. This is something very important. It is the part of the plant where the seed formation takes place, because the seed also has to be made. So inside this is the seed which is made. A flower may consist of either stamen or pistil, or even both. Based on this, a flower can be either unisexual or bisexual. A bisexual flower is composed with all the 4 parts mentioned above. Example, rose, datura, and Chinese rose, etc. Whereas plants like papaya and cucumber produce only unisexual flowers, like the image below explains. Pollination. In order to form a zygote, male gametes in pollen grains must fuse with egg in the ovule. This is achieved by the process called pollination. Pollination is the process of transferring pollen grains from the anther, male part of a flower, to the stigma, female part of a flower. I hope you remember, depending on the pollen landing. Well guys, there are 2 types of pollination: self-pollination and cross-pollination. Self-pollination is where the pollen transfer takes place between the anther and stigma of the same flower, not different. But cross-pollination means the pollen transfer takes place between the anther and the stigma of different plants of the same plant or different plants of the same species. This is something very confusing. I hope you guys don't forget. Generally, pollination takes place with the help of certain agents, so-called pollinators. They include insects, water, birds, wind, etc. Fertilization. In plants, fertilization is a process of sexual reproduction which occurs after pollination and germination. Once pollen gets transferred to the stigma, the male gametes from pollen grains release and fuses with the egg in the ovule to form a zygote. This process of fusion of gametes is called fertilization. The zygote thus formed divides and develops into an embryo and later into a seed. Isn't this astonishing? And by the way, guys, the seed then forms into a big, beautiful flower, while the ovary develops into a fruit. The picture is explaining fertilization. This is a brief overview between asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction in plants. Thanks a lot, everyone. I hope you understood the concept and liked my video.